Have you ever witnessed a wedding objection? What was it like? The most dramatic objection came from a guy seated further back in a church filled with people. As an organist, I've witnessed innumerable weddings. He said the groom was still legally married to another woman in California, that a decree of divorce had not been finalized by the judicial system. Turns out the guy was correct. Some glitch in the process prevented the divorce from becoming official, even though the groom thought it had long been resolved. Apparently, the man who spoke at the East Coast wedding ceremony was related to the groom's wife, and the guy was intent on spoiling the occasion out of some bitterness he held toward the groom. Well, this is the precise reason that question is asked. And if that guy really wanted to frick the wedding up, he wouldn't have said anything at all. Sweeter justice for him, to stop the party. Not an objection, but I was at a wedding. The priest gets to the objections. The 3-year-old daughter was the flower girl, walks up the aisle, pulls the bride's dress and whispers something to her. Everyone was like, is the little girl objecting? Nope. Apparently she told her mum she didn't feel good. That was about half a second before she threw up all over her. Oh yeah, the cute flower kids often get loaded with about 3 bushels of sweets and candy, because they're so cute. Poor thing. Not an actual objection, but of the if anyone here present knows of any reason why they should not be joined moment. The photographer knocked over his tripod, smashing his camera, and shouted frick. As a photographer, this hurts me. As a non-photographer who once looked up the price of a decent DSLR and lens set out of curiosity, I want to cry. Only once. They were lawyers being married by one of the judges they appeared before a lot. It was done as a joke. The judge overruled the objection. That's cute. I objected at my cousin's wedding. The dude had hit her multiple times. He was and is generally a douchebag. Every time I had ever seen him he was drunk. And my cousin, who I was previously very close with, quit talking much and suddenly became very clumsy, falling down and hitting her face on things a lot. I had no intention of going. Turned down being in the wedding party. Turned down going to the bachelorette party. My mother and aunt begged me to go over my objections. I told them why I didn't want to go. They made a bunch of excuses and told me it was just me being jealous. Ended up going, explicitly to object. The priest did the speak up or forever hold your peace. I stayed that I object, because the guy is an abusing pile of it. Everything went silent. One of my cousins and my dad walked me out. The marriage continued. Nobody talked to me for about a year. Right after the donghead got arrested for hitting her in the face with a hand mixer, because she made something wrong. Turned out I was right. Yet they are still married even though he has been to jail twice now for beating her. Downside is my parents wouldn't talk to me for a long time. Now my mum apologized for not believing me. Not a marriage, but had a similar situation with a family member. Called CPS, because they are an alcoholic with a child. Drunk driving with the kid, being at face when they are the only one home with them. My family didn't talk to me for a long time. Until, even after she had to deal with CPS for over a year. She tried to insist at a family party, after bottles of wine, that she could drive with the kid. My family eventually apologized. Does she still have custody? She does. CPS didn't find anything, mostly because they did their checks during the day. Luckily, she currently lives with other family so the child is safe. When the registrar was doing the whole "will you marry take you Bill" bit, there was a loud shriek of Bill. Paused the ceremony and everyone was looking round to find the source. The source was a small baby using this opportunity to speak one of their first proper words. I was told that when I was a toddler and attending my very first church service, the reverend concluded his sermon with "Amen" and I stood up and yelled out, "That's a nut." He probably said it like "Amen LOL. That's awesome." When asked if there were any objections, right on cue, the groom's 2-year-old nephew squealed and banged his toy car on the floor a couple of times like he was trying to make a point. The marriage didn't last. I guess he's the only one who was perceptive enough to know. Not an objection, but I went to a friend's wedding and their 1-year-old laughed and clapped right through the whole ceremony. Power move. This is why we requested that no young children be brought to our ceremony. We even offered to hire people to watch young children at the hotel during the service if needed. They won't remember it anyway, and I am at that age where half my friends have toddlers in tow. They were all very understanding minus one exception, and some were even thankful to have a night with the adults. It sounds like this was the child of the bride and groom. It might be weird to completely leave their actual child out. I witnessed a similar objection at a friend's courtroom wedding. Judge asked if there were any objections and their infant child let out one quick cry then went silent. They are currently in the midst of a bitter divorce. I didn't go to this wedding, but my father is a pastor and to this day claims this to be the craziest ceremony he's done. The couple wanted a redneck but not redneck wedding. They rented him a big rich cowboy suit. Think Doug Dimmadome. They then proceeded to give him a holstered revolver with a blank in it and told him when he got to the speak now or forever hold your peace bit, the groom's brother would stand up to object and they wanted him to pull the gun and shoot him. According to my dad, it was the stupidest request he ever had, but it was fun and the crowd loved it. That is weird, but I would love to have seen it. If everyone's on board, it's gotta be good. The thing was it wasn't loaded with a blank. It's all a convoluted murder plot to kill the brother. I can totally see that as plot of some average-ass TV crime series. At a friend's wedding in 2003 he was asked if he wants to marry the bride first name last name. Without any pause he said no. Everyone was shocked, including the bride. It was like the world stopped turning for a second and dead silence together with severe tension was in the air. He then corrected that he was there to marry correct first name, last name. The bride's first name has been a wrong one when he was asked, but the bride itself doesn't notice. Some guests did notice as well. The official then checked and it turns out he noted down the wrong first name, which would lead to them not being married if not corrected. They are happily married until today. What happened today that ended their marriage? Smiley face, they just got bored seeing each other during quarantine. Well played. Now they are just married. The Fire Nation attacked. My mill showed up to my wedding in a black funeral type fundamentalist Mormon looking dress in protest. She was supposed to wear purple, silver or teal to match wedding colors and had shown me 2 outfits she bought in those colors. But she got mad at me for not letting Bill give the blessing at the rehearsal dinner, because I wanted the actual pastor in attendance to do it and threw a fit and threatened not to come to the wedding. She ended up coming, but in that funeral dress and frowned in all the wedding pictures and pretty much ruined my wedding. God, what a raging bitch. Oh yeah, that is only the tip of the iceberg with that woman. I have many stories. Many years ago, the wedding was at the bride's upscale residence. They had the rehearsal and thought they had anticipated every possibility. When the question was asked, it was too late to realize that nobody had thought to stop the cuckoo clock. Cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. It was a good 10 minutes before the laughter died down enough for them to finish the ceremony. The bride, groom and officiant chuckled their way through the rest of the ceremony. They have been married for over 30 years. There were no objections, but at my cousin's wedding, about 12 years ago, when the priest asked if there were any objections, my cousin, who is a 6'5" bodybuilder, turned to the crowd with his arms wide, as if to challenge anyone to object. The whole place erupted with laughter. It was great. Is he T-posing? If you can't T-pose at your own wedding, when can you? Home alone in quarantine, looking at the world outside from your window. I was at an outdoor wedding. During the ceremony we get to the speak now or forever hold your peace bit, and during the pause a squirrel had been walking across a tree branch, causing it to crack, break, and fall to the floor. It was loud. I turned to my wife and said, I guess God is trying to tell us something, to which I got hit on the arm by her as others around us chuckled. Apparently I said it a little too loudly. Turned out that squirrel was onto something. They split up after 5 years. Squirrel was the secret lover, obviously. My mum and I were on my spring break of my junior year in college. We were on a little 4-day cruise and loving life. On the first night a man begins walking to a large fountain in the center of the dining area. Now this dining area was 3 levels with the top 2 cut out like a balcony so you could see all the way through. As this guy is dragging her up, she is resisting and shaking her head, trying not to make a scene. After he gets everyone's attention and you could hear a pin drop, he begins his speech. She says no. She flees. He follows. My mum and I couldn't help but wonder how the rest of the trip went since it was only the first night and we had assumed they were sharing a room. Oh my god, why would he do that? He clearly saw that she was uncomfortable and should have guessed how the outcome would be. He humiliated himself. This is one of many reasons why I would never do a public proposal. No, but at my wedding when they asked if anybody had any reason to believe we should not be wed, I playfully covered my husband's ears. Got a good laugh smiley face. Gotta upvote this question, because I feel that if enough people see it there will be a good answer and I really wanna hear it. I've tried asking a similar one months back, but there weren't much responses too. Sad face, I guess I'm just unlucky. I was witnessing this wedding one time. I couldn't go, because the wedding was happening far away, but someone was nice enough to let me watch via the TV. Anyway, it was all going well and smoothly, then this big, bald looking guy burst through the door shouting I object. As you can expect, we were all kinda shocked. What was even more crazy is then a dragon and a talking donkey appeared as well. The big, bald guy managed to convince the bride to not marry the person she was about to, but marry him instead. Crazily, she accepted and they lived happily ever after. Did the big bald guy happen to have green skin? And that's all for now. Make sure to like, subscribe and click that bell notification for more /Reddit network videos. Thanks and come again.